Now y'all are like y'all supposed to be. Y'all look to God and to one another.
He's now using it to show me what it's going to be like in the future.
I had a dream on the first day of October 2024. It was the 112th birthday of my late paternal grandmother, Mama Eve. It began at my childhood home back in East Cleveland, Ohio. As I walked through the front door, I passed family members, both past and present. My late brother-in-law, Sherman, was out on the sun porch sitting at my dad's desk, where I could see him in the distance at the back of the house. My late brother-in-law, Larry, whom I call Larf, had brought my desk and chair out of my bedroom upstairs and was sitting at it in our den downstairs near the front door. I stopped to chop it up with Larf and asked him, how did it feel to sit in my chair for a change? He looked at me and said, man, look, this a lot. I'm stressed out just sitting here, bruh. I laughed because it had been a while since I heard his combination of country hood twang saying anything at all. Trust me, it made everything he said 100 times funnier. The windows were wide open all over the house, and the sun was beaming in as the wind blew heavy on all of the curtains. It was a sweltering hot day, but there was a strong wind blowing over our house. As I continued to make my way through the house and up the stairs, I saw my dad moving around with precision and emptying all the hallway cabinets and drawers while throwing things into boxes. My mom had a yard broom in her hand while push sweeping the piles of dirt coming from up under the carpet. And she had my sisters all emptying their dresser drawers and closets in their rooms as well. Without saying a word, Mama handed me her broom and nodded for me to go ahead and to finish the job for her. So I took hold of the broom, and it was then that I went to work. Shortly thereafter, it was getting dark outside, and as the hour had drawn very late, I began to feel tired and weary from the long day of cleaning. I went into my room and laid face down on my bed in complete exhaustion, and my late younger brother Norm had already long been asleep in his bed that was beside mine. My mom came into the room as she heard a ruckus coming from outside of our house, and she came and stood in front of my bedroom window looking out of the blinds with that big push broom still in her hands. She saw a couple in a dispute out in the street, and I could hear their words through my window. The woman grabbed the man and said, "I knew you were no good. You better not leave me." The man then replied, "You better let me go. This all about to burn down." Mama then placed the big push broom into my hands, and as I remained lying in bed, she squeezed my hand tightly around the broom as if she was making sure that it would never come out of my hand again. She then quietly exited the room, having never said one single word. Early the next morning, at the break of day, I heard my dad back out in the hallway calling for me and my younger brother Norm. So I woke Norm up and we went into the hallway. Dad was sitting on the floor in a white tank top undershirt and still sweating profusely, but even the more. He said, "Y'all come here, and don't let me have to tell you that now I'm old." Me and Norm got on the floor around him as he got up on his knees to lay out the day's instructions for us. As my father reached into one of the old boxes that he had packed, he He pulled out and handed me 10 crisp, new $10 bills and placed them into my hands. He then gave me orders to purchase as many bags of ice as possible and bring them to Bethlehem Temple, my childhood church. He told me to take Norm with me to assist me and to help me carry the load on our journey back to Bethlehem. He then gave me 10 golden strings with emblems attached to them, each having a character or symbol on them that I could not fully make out. Some had an alphabet, some had numbers, some had icons, but they were all golden, and he tied one on each of my 10 fingers. He said that these were reminders to help me remember the things that he said and that I would need to successfully complete my task. These 10 strings struck a chord in my remembrance of the 10 most important things that my dad ever said to me that would make my life a success and also my ministry as well. Number 1, he said, put God first and keep him there so you're ready for the rapture. Next, he said, love God more than anything, anytime, or anybody. Next, he said, stay prayed up, son. You never know when you're gonna need it. Next, he said, your ministry is your most precious gift. Set it up high on the shelf. Make sure to don't let nobody touch that thing but you and God. Next, he said, a man gotta work. He gotta have something for his family and for the Lord. Next, he said, leadership. It's a lonely position, son. It's the loneliest job in the world. So always stand. Even if that means you gotta stand alone, boy. You keep on standing. You hear me? Next, he said, don't be like me. You be better. Go further. Get that thing done. Next, he said, stay clean, son. Watch who you run with. People can tell a lot about who you are based on who you fool around with. This here was an insider to a conversation that my dad and I had as he drove me downstate back to college for my junior year in 1988. The next thing he said was, always stay ready to preach. Always have a word prepared to give to folk, because you're representing God. Finally and lastly, my dad looked at me in my eyes as he stared deeply, and he said to me, you the one. My dad then stretched out his arms and embraced me. As I leaned to his left side, he guided me to his right and said, don't go left. Stay on the right side. He then prayed a blessing over me, pouring out his soul as he cried, and sweat continued to roll down his face, along with his tears, entirely soaking him and me. Once done, he sent me and Norm on our way, and he bidded us a fond farewell. My dad's diligence in this dream was a reminder to me to never stop working in the kingdom of God, to complete the mission at hand, and to hold on until the end. It was similarly the same type of departing message that the great apostle Paul left with his spiritual son, Timotheus. When the apostle assigned to his son, Paul tells Tim in chapter 4, he says, preach the message. Be ready, whether it is convenient or not. Reprove, rebuke, exhort with complete patience and instruction. For there will be a time when people will not tolerate sound teaching. Instead, following their own desires, they will accumulate teachers for themselves because they have an insatiable curiosity to hear new things and shutting their ears to what is true. They will be turned away to belief in foolish stories, but be self-controlled in all things. Do without having comfort. Go on preaching the good news, completing the work which has been given you to do. Paul then closes this initial salutative benediction in verse number 9 by simply saying this to young Timothy: get here as fast as you can. As an older man, I realize now that my dad was scrounging around through those cabinets to find what he had for me, to help me in my life after him and my mom were gone, as well as my closest confidants when they were gone also. He gave me all that he had, and indeed, it is more precious than gold, even golden strings. Message received, Dad. And it is so.